Yes, I'm sure you know why there's a big smile on my face. I can't wait to go to Chop Pot because today's meal is a hybrid American Ghanaian. I just can't wait to taste what is cooking at Chop Pot. Well, let's go into the newspapers. And this morning on the front page of Daily Graphic, we have the banner story: 2 gas stations closed down. And then we also have airlines resume flights, and that's according to Mr. Simon Alote, who's the Director General for GCAA, and that's on the front page. And then Boss Strategic Reserve boost fuel security, that is according to Ewa Dakun. And when you quickly go into the page 40 of the same newspaper, it talks about the PPP tasking Akufo-Addo, and the major issue is for the amendment of the Constitution in 2017. We'll go into the details of that. And then on page 60, we have the NDC forms 13-member committee to establish the cause of defeat in elections. So we'll make time and look at these major stories. And to help us do the discussion, I've been joined by Philip Langdon, who is with the MPP, and Isaac Adongo. It's right if I say honorable, or you're yet to be an honorable?
I'm just an elect.
Elect, all right. So Isaac Adongo is the NDC MP elect for the Bolga Central constituency. So, gentlemen, welcome to the studio. Let's start on a neutral conversation. 2 gas stations have been closed down, obviously emanating from the disaster that happened some few days ago. Let me take your thoughts on it. It appears that we usually go into such modes when a disaster happens. After 2 weeks, 3 weeks, everything comes back to normal. Is that the way to go?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning to my colleague, and also to viewers and listeners. You know, this whole way of doing things, where when there's an unfortunate disaster, a few days down the line, we see a screaming newspaper headline that some facilities have been closed down, as to give us some hope or reassurance that the job is being done. I mean, there should be gas filling stations should have their own periodic maintenance programs and inspections by, first of all, the owners or the proprietors of the businesses. Then the supervisory authorities must also have their own inspection timetables and also their sporadic inspections. So if anything is going wrong, either in terms of the infrastructure of the place, the establishment as it is, or the use, the way the staff, etc., are going about their operations, or customers are going about their operations. These are the important things to be done. I mean, if the job is being done, we'll never hear of gas disaster. We'll never hear of filling stations being closed, or gas stations being closed down. But we tend to just wait, and then these things happen. I understand there was a call. Well, I didn't hear it myself, but I've heard that there was a call from a certain senior quarter asking for stations to be closed down. So what would you find? You find people doing their regular business who are working hard to make sure they maintain safety standards, make sure that their staff go by proper procedures. Then authorities will just start harassing them. That is not the right thing to do. On that note,
Philip, let me read some further details. Now, 2 gas filling stations at Amasaman in the Ga West municipality in the Greater Accra region, which are operating under conditions considered to be a threat to human security, have been closed down. While one of the facilities, which was recently constructed, had liquefied petroleum gas leaking from one of its cylinders, the operator of the second facility could not produce its operational license. And then on the floor of the second facility, it did not meet safety requirements, aside from the non-availability of good firefighting equipment.
Yes, it reinforces my point. You know, if the authorities, the supervisory authorities, were doing their job, we won't even get here in the first place. You know, before the facility starts operation, fundamental requirements must have been. You know, before a tanker will go there to offload gas, there must be some fundamental certifications, you know, and approvals obtained and, you know, provided before a gas cylinder, a gas tanker would even come to the premises to discharge gas. You see, so the point I'm making is that, yes, it's good that they have suddenly woken up to their responsibilities, but that should not be the case. We must be working constantly. The people have been going to work every day. It's expected of them to do their job, so that anybody going into any gas filling station to buy gas or fill their cylinder or whatever has the assurance that the supervisory authorities and the proprietors of the facility are all doing their job. and then,
I see.
we move on.
Isaac, let me take your thoughts on the closure of 2 gas stations following the recent happening. That was last week, Thursday, where the gas filling station near the Ghana International Trade Fair exploded, and that claimed about 9 lives and scores of people were injured.
Yeah, so first, good morning to my big brother and to your cherished viewers, particularly to my constituents. This is the first time since after the elections that I've been here.
Welcome, good to have you.
So I'm happy to
and
be
congratulations.
Here. Thank you very much. I think this is an unfortunate development. We have challenges with some of the institutions being up to scratch with some of these things. To be able to set up a gas station or a filling station, you need the authorization and the certification of the Ghana Standards Board. You need the Environmental Protection Agency. You need the Ghana National Petroleum Authority and all of that to be able to certify that you've met all the standards.
Yeah.
But beyond that also, you need to have those regular inspections to be able to give you renewals of your licenses, to be able to give the assurance to the public that this is a safety-driven environment and that all the requirements are met. So that when you and I go there to buy a gas or buy fuel, our presumption is that everything is safe there. So when we are on our normal day-to-day purchases and we find our lives being threatened by those facilities that others have paid to make sure that they are working, then we have a challenge. You mentioned about one of them where the person has started operations without a license.
Certification, sure.
That is very unfortunate. But it also comes to the challenge and the bottlenecks in receiving some of these licenses. People invest a lot of money in these facilities. Their bankers are chasing them. They need to run the businesses in order to make the returns and to be able to pay off their loans. And it takes forever for them to get the licenses. So some of them, even though it is not appropriate, end up doing these things. So if you realize that the downstream petroleum sector is expanding so fast that you need more capacity, it is important to make sure that the capacity is there so that the right things are done, because they are springing up all over the country. And so, yes, obviously you will be overstretched in terms of numbers, in terms of your staff numbers and the rest, but you must be able to catch up with the pace. Otherwise, this is just Accra. I mean, there are several other places across the country. Do we wait to hear another explosion? And you never know whose life is at stake the next time. So anytime I hear of some of these systemic failures, particularly, I pin it down to institutional failure.
Okay.
It is high time that most of these institutions make it very clear to the country what their challenges are, and to see how they can be supported to be better at dealing with some of these things, because it's becoming one too many. And you and I will be driving the next moment to a filling station and you are not comfortable. So for me, it's an unfortunate development, but one that we need to look at very closely. We've had the experience at Circle where several people lost their lives. Action was taken, some filling stations and the rest were closed down. Then suddenly we hear another one, which is a gas explosion. So I think that this should be the last time that... Of course, there are those that no matter how you go about it, there may still be one
accidents
or two
do happen.
Failures. But it shouldn't be part of the system that we are not adequately providing the safety that we need.
And do you foresee a point in time where consumers will demand and expect to see some of these things before they actually patronize or use such services?
It is actually incumbent on us to do it, but how many of us can do that? So are you suggesting to me that if I went to buy a kerosene and I'm not literate, how am I able to tell that the certificate that is hanging there is an appropriate certificate? But I'm entitled to get that service. So yes, it is good that we are able to do that check for ourselves and to look at the certificates that are there. But you just drive to a police station, you are sitting in your car and you are being filled, and you assume that somebody is making sure that this is a very safe place, this is a very safe environment for you. Some of the gas stations were originally supposed to be built outside of the towns, but urbanization has caught up with some of them. And so it is becoming even difficult to determine which is the remotest location you can have a gas station, so people can go there, because sooner or later developments get there and the place becomes urbanized and all of that. So we must find ways by which we can cohabit with these facilities and still be safe in our day-to-day activities.
All right. So let's move on from that. Just a few comments. Right.
Just allow me to just also register my sympathies to some of the victims.
Right.
Yes. And also to commend. I also read in the paper somewhere there that the government has paid.
The Ministry of Health.
The Ministry of Health has paid some of the bills. I mean, these injuries are very expensive, especially in the management post-initial, the dressings and that kind of thing is very, very expensive. So at least we must appreciate what has been done. But then also, you see, another sad thing about this type of thing when it happens is that you get a general, like you've been hearing on the radio stations and TV stations, everybody wants all gas stations closed down, I mean, we can't do that. People have invested money. It is for us to make sure that the people who have invested the money, first of all, do the right thing. The supervisory authorities to also do the right thing. Then the customers can go there in peace, get the service, and then the other innocent bystanders
who may not necessarily be patronizing,
who have their businesses outside the premises, in their offices working. People driving by, people in the truck moving, they don't become innocent victims. Because you see, in other parts of the world, gas is piped to your home. We should get to a situation where we even stop using cylinders, especially in gated communities. We should have gas being piped, so it comes direct, and you have a meter that So, and in those areas, you don't hear of gas explosions, or rarely, because people just maintain the safety practices, and it is well, spelled out. Everybody goes by the safety practices. So these are the things that we have to do. Make sure that people are aware. I mean, if a cylinder, one of the stations is being closed down because it was leaking gas, I don't understand how there could be a management. You know that the tanker that came the last time, or the tankers that come, discharge about 1,000 liters of liquefied gas. And in your retail, you're only retailing about 800. I mean, you must find out what is happening to the 200. Is somebody embezzling the money, or is it leaking? It's, you don't need these things to happen. It's unfortunate if there's a structural problem and then there's an accident. But I think that we should all,
be involved
in
this.
Work harder,
All right. So let's do some politics now, and to the NDC. Now, the NDC forms a 13-member committee to establish cause of defeat. The National Democratic Congress has formed a 13-member committee to investigate and establish the cause of the party's defeat in the December 7 general elections. Formed by the NDC National Executive Committee and approved by its Council of Elders, the committee is chaired by a former Minister of Finance and Chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Dr. Kwesi Botwe. Now, addressing the press yesterday, the General Secretary of the NDC, Mr. Johnson Nketia, said the committee was expected to submit its report within 90 days after its inauguration. So let me start with you, Isaac Adonko. The NDC has officially made it public that, yes, indeed, it has established a committee to take a critical look at what happened and what led to the defeat of the NDC in the 2016 elections. Let me take your thought on that particular move, and then we'll look at the constitution of the committee to do this task.
I think first we have to understand that this is a normal practice. Even when you have won an election, you will still have a review committee that will look at your strengths, what you did right, what you didn't do right, so you can improve.
So it happened in 2012. The NDC had a committee.
Any time we have won, it's because when you win an election, success has so many fathers. So everybody is happy. So nobody cares about the post-election activities. Okay. But when you lose, it becomes more critical because there's some level of despondency. You have people who are not happy. You have blame game here and there. So it is important to make it more public and transparent so that people will sit back and say, okay, yeah, something is being done. We want to see the outcome of it. Because if you love your party, you want your party to be in a much stronger position. You want to be able to bring people together. And so you don't want a situation where because of a defeat, you basically fight each other and destroy the very party that you love so much that you're fighting for. So making this public is because we have lost, and it's also because of the manner in which we lost. You know, I mean...
By that, what do you exactly mean?
You know, this defeat is one that... I don't want to go into some of the issues because it's one that most of the party full soldiers are uncomfortable with.
Was it that they weren't expecting the defeat at all?
Definitely no.
Or the magnitude of the defeat?
Yeah, they were not expecting it. They were not expecting it. And so something definitely went terribly wrong.
Okay.
And so that is the reason you would want the masses and the followers of the party to know that, yes, when everybody loses his head, you don't expect leadership to lose theirs. And one of the best things you do in difficult times as a leader is to be able to look the people in the face and say, look, something went wrong. We need to find out, and we want the input from everybody. You know, that allows some form of rebuilding, and that allows a much clearer way forward. Because then if you are proposing a way to deal with the future, you are doing it based on some facts.
Okay.
And you are doing it much more better than dealing with more of the emotions that have characterized. Nobody will lose an election and will not have a reason. Once you lose an election, you have all manner of theories. And so it is appropriate that the right thing is done so that you can have a much clearer way forward in dealing with some of these challenges. And so I'm happy that this has come pretty quickly in order that we can begin the process of reorganization.
There's something that Mr. Siedu said that I would want you to throw some more light on. He said that the mandate of the committee, which is yet to be inaugurated, was to review and validate the results of the 2016 presidential and parliamentary elections and find out the causes of the poor performance of the NDC in both the presidential and parliamentary election, as well as deal with other matters reasonably related to the above objectives and to make recommendations to the National Executive Committee about the way forward. The emphasis is on reviewing and validating the results of the 2016 presidential elections.
Yes, you know, you can't look at why you lost without looking at the numbers. Okay, you have to do a proper review of the numbers, because at the time the results are trickling in, you don't have the time to properly study the figures. You need to do that in relation to your historical performance in those areas. You need to do that in relation to other factors. And so you need to know how you perform in each of the constituencies. In fact, in some of the branches, you need to still find out what happened. And so the results becomes the starting point for the picture to be clearer to you what really has happened. Because whatever has happened ended up in the figures, ended up in the numbers. So you must first have an appreciation for those numbers. Then after that, you can go behind the numbers to see why is it that these were the numbers that you got. Okay, then those are the real facts on the ground, whether it was as a result of inappropriate campaign strategy, whether it was lack of resources, whether it was lack of motivation on the part of the people, whether it was voter apathy. All those matters will come up as you investigate each figure. Now, there are areas that you have performed very well. You still want to know why you did that.
Okay.
So it is not just about where you lost, but even areas where you performed very well. What really happened there? Okay. Why is it that suddenly I did very well in an area that I normally don't do well? Okay. So you need to look at those figures in totality in order to arrive at a conclusion that gives you a better, clearer picture and to be able to make the appropriate recommendations. And so it is important that you look at the numbers.
Okay, I'll come back to you, but let me take your thought, Philip, on this whole process. So it appears it's something that every political party does. So in the case of the NPP, after losing the 2012 election, was there a committee like that was formed, and were the findings indeed beneficial in helping the NPP win the election in 2016?
Yes, in fact, after we lost in 2008, we did.
Okay.
2012, we did.
Okay.
And but before then, let me congratulate my brother for having won his seat. But I assure him next time. You know, after this election, as part of the process, our leader, the president-elect, as is a normal practice, would arrange for us to have a small introspection into how we performed, because we're not taking anything for granted. Like he himself has said, and as he's going around saying, There are some who believe that because of the promises we made, etc., and of course some of our opponents have already started saying all kinds of things. He's going around assuring people that we are focused, he's on course, he knows exactly what to do and how he's going to go about it. So yes, it is a normal practice that would happen. But if I were to offer some advice, which I know is not being solicited though, to our brothers in the NDC, I think the 13 members is too much.
I see.
Oh, it's too much.
Because
let's
look at some of the people in the committee.
You can look at that one. But me, my advice to them is that one person will tell them.
One person?
Oh, I can tell them.
I see.
That you see, they took Ghanaians for granted. Yes. And yes, you know, my brother was talking about the analysis that go into it, logistics, etc. But they were awash with logistics. In my constituency, Cape Coast North, I mean, we couldn't match them. There was no way we could match the NDC. In the central region as a whole, we couldn't match them. But we worked. You see, we know what we did. We are going to go into introspection to make sure that we even do better. That's what I'm promising the next time. We'll correct. You know, but seriously, these are the things that are to be expected. As a political party, wanting to make sure that they move into the future.
Right.
It is a step that they will take. So.
And particularly, the mandate they have is over a 90-day period. I mean, from the MPP's point of view, does that appear to be too much time to do nothing?
Well, you know, I cannot say the position of my party. This is only something that came out yesterday. I'm not too sure whether our party has a position on that date, or whether our party even intends to have a position on the time frame that they have chosen to give to their own committee. But if they believe 90 days is a reasonable time, fair to them.
That's about 3 months.
But like I said, if it was left to us, one man, one day we just started.
I see. I'll come back to you. But you see, Isaac, there's been scores of NDC supporters who have argued that, well, in totality, the NDC national executives failed the people of the NDC. So there's been a number of pressure groups who've advocated for virtually all the executive committee members to resign from their position. So some have said that this is a strategy just to buy enough time, because 90 days just to look through what has happened and what can be done. Typically, is that always the convention, 90 days, you know, whether or not you lose an election?
Well, I think the committee's work will come up with those answers, whether or not it is the National Executive Committee that failed us. These are preemptive issues that people are discussing. But as they do their work, if that is the conclusion, they will come to that conclusion. But you see, we finish an election. We have 4 years to the next election. So what would you rather do? Have 10 days and do a shoddy job, or have 6 months and do a thorough job? A thorough job that positions you for the rest of the 4 years and to give you the leverage that you need in order to come back to power. And so for me, it is not about 90 days, it's not about 30 days. It is about the time required to do a thorough job. And if that is 6 months, I'm for it. The important thing is that you must come out with findings that inform proper decisions on the way forward. Now, whether this is buying time or not, the national executives were elected at Congress. So there will still be an opportunity for the party to take a decision on them. So at this point in time, you can't fire them, even if they are the people. Will you fire them? Because the time will come for them to come to you again for your mandate. And it is at that point that the electorates, the party members, will take a decision whether they feel some or all of them must go. And so I don't think that the 90 days has anything to do with somebody going or somebody staying. Because they haven't run their full term. And unless we take a decision to have an early Congress, we have to wait and go through the normal process, at which time every member of the party who is a delegate will be given the appropriate opportunity to make that decision and to decide whether or not these people must stay or they must go. Besides, at this point, these are all conjectures, because you have not been able to put a definite blame on somebody by enumerating A, B, C, D, O. And this is what the committee's work is supposed to come up with. So at this point, yes, it is normal that when elections are lost, people will point accusing fingers. People definitely will not be happy that their party has lost. And so the emotions will run high. We accept the fact that people are not happy. People love the party so much so that it's very difficult for them to take it. On all political parties, you have people who basically live and breathe their parties. And so when it happens like this, it is very difficult. Yesterday you saw in Somania what happened. I mean, it tells you the level of passion that some people have for even His Excellency. And so to have people wail publicly should tell you that such a person would go home wanting to find out what really happened. And there are several of them, scores of them across the country. So we need to give them the support. And for me, 13 member, 20 member, 3 member, 1 member is not the issue. The issue is we have to get to the bottom of the matter and come up with alternatives and the way forward that would further consolidate our position as a very strong political party. I think that is what is more important.
Okay, so let's look at the membership of the committees. It's to be chaired by Dr. Kwesi Botwe, and it has members such as Mr. Edward Do Ajaho, who's the outgoing Speaker of Parliament, Alhaji Hudu Yaya, Naval Captain Asasi Jima, Mr. William Ahaji, the Director of Research at the NDC headquarters, Mr. Ibrahim Zubiru, who's a lecturer at the Accra Technical University and a member of the NDC, Mr. Razak Abu, a researcher at NDC's Development Challenge, Mrs. Juliana Azuma, former MP for the Agoteme Zope, and Ms. Barbara Sewa Samoa, a deputy minister. So looking at the constitution of this particular committee, does it for you represent a broad spectrum who will be able to adequately...
These are people who have been there before. In 2000, it was worse. 2000, when we lost the election, I remember at some point someone said that by the time they are finished with the NDC, nobody will recognize the political party again. I mean, that was how much terrible the feeling was. And yet, these are some of the people who rebranded the party, who were there, kept the cooler heads. Even at that time, they were much younger. You know, now they have experienced it all. You know, our democracy was still very young. Now we've gone through several elections. We've done several transitions. So it's a lot easier for them to have sober reflection. In fact, in doing some of this work, you're not only learning from your own party alone, you are learning from your opponents as well. What was the strength of your opponents? And so it's a much bigger discussion, you know, than we want to put it. There are some leadership of the party in parliament that have to be represented, and that's the reason it's normally inaugurated. I think after 7th, when we have our full complement of leadership,
there'll be some more people.
Some 4 people will join, because at the moment we don't know who is going to be the minority leader, and he's a member of the committee.
So they have it here, 4 members from the NDC parliamentary caucus will be included.
3 other people to add. So all these would crystallize when the membership is complete. And I do believe that we're going to have a very good job done on this.
Okay, I'll come to you, Philip, but the last one on this is that, so is there a fair commitment from the NDC that whatever the findings bring and its recommendation, the party is willing to commit to it? Because, you know, this is opening up to everybody in the party to have a say, more or less. And there's a particular group that calls itself Crusade for Probity and Accountability, who have been pushing and advocating for the NDC executive to step down. Now, with the open door policy for this committee, groups like that will come and share their views and all that. The party is ready to absorb and take anything that party members have to say to them.
The committee's terms of reference is what we have. The methodology, the approach, how they are going to do it, is left to the committee. They will spell that out. And so at this point, it is more of a conjecture to think that they are going to interview or talk to everybody. The committee would... Because
Esiedu said that the committee is expected to conduct a hearing among the rank and file of the party, as well as solicit for views from members of the party across the country for review and restructure.
The rank and file is still about sampling.
It can be everybody.
Exactly, it can be everybody. So they will take a decision as to how they are going to approach this. They have only been given terms of reference. How they want to proceed with it is within their remit. And so you and I at this point in time will be only speculating how they are going to do it. You'll be wondering who is going to be talked to and all of that. And so let's leave them to sit down and determine how they want to proceed. Like I'm saying, It's an exercise that we've gone through over the years. Not even in years that we have won. Even in years that we have won, we've still had this review. Years that we have lost, we've still had this review. And so we have a blueprint to guide us. Are you getting the point? We have a clear view of how to proceed with this. And so let the committee do its own work. I don't think that it is going to be a problem of committee.
At all.
The party wants to win power. And so there are no options other than being committed to what is appropriate to be able to win power. That is what is important.
All right. Yeah. Philip, let me take your closing thoughts on the constitution and how they are supposed to operate and all that. Does it for you appear to be something that can indeed bring back the NDC to power in 2020?
Well, as to what to bring the NDC to power, it's a matter of so many things. Part of it also has to do with the way the NPP is going to run things. And my main concern and my main interest is how the NPP is going to be able to do a good job and keep our brothers in the NDC where they are going to find themselves very soon for quite some time.
Okay. All right. Now let's look at another thing that happened yesterday. The PPP tasked Akufo-Addo, and key among them is for the amendment of the Constitution in 2017. So let me just read a brief portion of it to you. Now, the Progressive People's Party has called on the incoming New Patriotic Party administration to amend the 1992 Constitution within 24 months to make it more development-oriented. Now, in the view of the PPP, some provisions in the 1992 Constitution hinder the effective implementation of certain political tenets that the Constitution espouses, such as the separation of powers and checks and balances. At the press conference in Accra, the founder and flag bearer of the PPP in the 2012 and 2016 elections, Dr. Papakosi Indom, said until the Constitution was amended, no meaningful development could be achieved. Now, on the back of that, there have been several calls from several quarters, placing all manner of demands and expectations on the New Patriotic Party. Yes. You are a member of the NPP party. How does the party take all these comments and expectations that the people have of the Nana Addo-led administration?
Well, first of all, I think we all know that there was a deep demand for change. The NPP under Nana Addo Akufo-Addo pointed out a certain kind of change that was going to be provided for Ghana. So those expectations are there and very high. That's one. Two, we've been in a constitutional review situation for several months now. Many positions have been articulated. Various positions have been provided as to how we should amend our constitution. It is also a matter of fact that the NPP is coming into parliament with a very comfortable majority. Nana Addo himself, the president-elect, has already given some indications of some changes that we can expect to see moving forward. The other day when he addressed the Central Regional House of Chiefs, he dropped a hint that district chief executives are now going to be elected and not, there's going to be like a general election for district chief executives, and dropped also a hint about government appointees in assemblies, trying to move it towards a more democratic institution. See, so some of these hints have been dropped. But in all these things, he has also, and the party has also made it very clear that there are legal and constitutional processes that the party will have to go through to be able to establish these things. The other day, I heard Imani Ghana also coming up with some suggestions. And the president-elect is very much aware that there are a lot of expectations. People have all kinds of ideas and suggestions, many of which are very well intended. But there isn't going to be a rush to start implementing things simply because of good ideas are coming from people. There's going to be a careful, consideration of some of these suggestions and proposals and positions that are going to be brought forward, and some of which have already been proposed. And then the processes will be put in place for them actually to be effected into law. Whether it's amendment to the Constitution or whether it's certain ways of doing things that we've been doing in the past that we have generally come to accept are not right. I, on my own part, there's something I feel very, very strongly about. It's not anything to do with the Constitution. But I have a very strong view that the Farmers' Day should not be a national holiday, because I'm a farmer. And I can't see how Ghana, with the current level of agriculture, when we have countries like Burkina Faso, that don't have 1/4 the natural resources that God has blessed us with, they are doing far better in agriculture than we are. Cote d'Ivoire is doing far better than we are. And they don't declare holidays for their farmers. I don't think any farmer even wants a national holiday for himself because of he's a farmer. We have May Day for all workers, everybody who works in the economy.
So is this something you're going to push your party to have a look at?
Yes, but I'm not just going to push my party. Because see, these things, for it to work, for it to be accepted, I know my party, I know my flag bearer, by my president-elect. Yeah. It's not somebody who don't say just because, oh, Philip, you have a good idea, I think it's a good idea, so I'm going to implement it. No. He is going to be ensured that this is something that has been very well considered, stakeholders have considered it very carefully, and that in the long term, this is something that will be beneficial, and even how to implement it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, the calls from the PPP are good.
Let me hit on some of the highlights. So, for example, the PPP has called for the amendment of Article 68, subsection 5 of the 1992 Constitution, which says the salary, allowances, facilities, pensions, and gratuity of the president shall be exempt from tax. And they are pushing for presidents to be, for the Constitution to allow presidents to pay tax. Another thing they also speak about is the appointment of ministers. He said the part of the Constitution that mandated the president to appoint majority of ministers from the Parliament House has to be amended. And they are of the view that appointing majority of ministers from Parliament does not support good governance and must be changed. And he talks about the fight against corruption and the revival of the National Identification Authority. These are important things he has raised.
Very, very important. I know that the revival of National Identification Authority is something that is very key on the heart of the incoming president, because a lot of development is going to hinge on that. For proper data gathering and things like that, we need that. So that is one area that is going to be very carefully and quickly looked at. The eminent persons who can handle this thing, we have many of them in our party. So I don't think there's going to be a problem with that.
Okay.
Now, on the issue of the president having to pay tax, I personally do not know all the thinking that went into the decision that a president and the vice president should not pay tax. On the face of it, it sounds okay. And I'm quite certain that it will be carefully looked at. And then whatever the final considerations are, it will be put in place. Election of the DCs, I think, President-elect His Excellency has already hinted.
Okay.
The issue of members of ministers not having to come from Parliament is also a reasonable suggestion. The mechanics of it and the practicality of it, how we're going to implement it, is also another matter.
Okay.
So I think...
All right. Isaac, let me take your thoughts on this one. Now, the PPP has clearly stated its position on some of the things they expect the New Patriotic Party to do. Is there a case that we hear of the NDC also stating certain expectations of the sitting government, and then we can look at what the PPP has said?
Well, I think first we need to understand that these are not demands of the PPP. These are definite promises of the NPP in the elections. And so they are just being reminded that you made these promises. Okay. Nanado said that within 6 months of his government, okay, he will create a new region in the Western region. Within 6 months. He said that, during the campaign. No. He said that. Yeah, he said that.
I'll give you time to react.
He made that definite promise that within 6 months, he will create a new region. So if he goes to Western region and informs them about something that he has promised, now putting a different timeline, that is up to him. Okay. He made a point that district judges are going to be elected. He had said that as a promise. He said he was going to separate the Attorney General from the Ministry of Justice. He said that. So these are not matters that are coming up from people who are expecting from the new government. This is a reminder of the social contract that the new government has signed with the people of Ghana. And to say, these are the things that you told us, we expect you to deliver them. So the fact that he is simply re-emphasizing what he promised, people are just telling him to be aware of what he promised. And so, for me, I don't think that these are demands on the new government. The NDC would be insisting that he fulfills the social contract. Our responsibility is for Ghanaians to get the heaven for which reason they voted for the NPP. And it is a fair deal that if you promise the people of Ghana one village, one dam, deliver it. It's as simple as that. I think that makes our work much easier. And I'm sure that the people of Ghana would be happy that they have a dam in the end in their village. Okay, and it's becoming a bit, you see, my big brother mentioned the fact that some of our opponents are saying he cannot deliver them. It's not your opponent. If the Private Enterprise Foundation suddenly realizes that agriculture is a game changer, and they've been around for all these years, there's no problem. We don't know their intervention in agriculture for all these years. But suddenly there's a new president-elect, comes to you and you say you are going to support him. And the most ridiculous proposal I heard was that they are going to lay a pipe from Adam, the Volta Lake, to the north. I don't know whether they think that the north, the villages are all together in one place. That, I mean, I can't just imagine that the Volta Lake that is already drying up and giving us problems at Akosombo is a source of water that a private entity, I mean, we must get serious. We want to have a proper debate on how to implement that. How to implement the one village, one dam to the benefit of Ghanaians. And not some kinds of ideas that are not properly thought through, that its feasibility would put Ghana even in danger. Assuming that you want to drain all the water on the Volta Lake. I just cannot imagine how that is going to help us. So my issue here is that the NDC or any other Ghanaian, unless they are coming up with new things, then those ones become demands on the government. But if we are repeating and reminding the government that, look, now we have finished, we have delivered our part of the contract, which is that we have given you the mandate to do the things you said you would do. The things that we were so happy that will happen. Now we want to see them happen. I think that will be a very fair deal. And it is not any demand, it is not any pressure. It is simply to remind the government all the time. And it is important that everybody in government constantly is reminded of some of the things that it decided to do.
There are some school of thoughts that say that it's one thing promising and one thing going into power to deliver. And your party has been in power for a while now. Yeah. And there were some of the promises your party made, but may not have been able to have fulfilled all. So is it not too much expectation of an incoming government?
So now, what would it mean? Our democratic dispensation will now be built on who can promise more? We must get serious. Are you getting the point?
Yeah.
So in that case, what happens? Next time, you promise you promise 350 schools, I promise 500 schools. It's about who can promise more? No. The people of Ghana, if for any reason, have demonstrated that they are not happy. That's why they have changed us. So if you also come and you don't deliver everything, of course they must be made aware that they have been shortchanged. And if they feel that you are following the same trend, they will change you.
Okay.
And so it is not about the fact that one government fulfilled some of its promises and not all. And so that is an excuse if you don't fulfill all. So where is that government now?
Okay, so it's an admission that...
The question, no, definitely we could not have fulfilled 100% of our promises. So that is definite. Okay, we said we're going to deliver 200 schools. We have 123 of them on the ground. By the close of the year, we have about 76 of them that would have been completed and being utilized. But of course, we have made an incremental contribution to the level of infrastructure in education. That is very key. Okay, but we do know that because government is a continuum, those additional schools will be completed. And so at the end of the day, Ghana is better off. And so we shouldn't say that because one government, and it's probably, if you want to stretch the argument, it is probably because we didn't deliver the 200 schools that Ghanaians said, leave. Okay, so if you come and you don't deliver, Ghanaians will tell you to leave. So there's no excuse of saying these people didn't deliver all. So I too, I can promise more, and take power. And then I'll go there and give excuses. No, I think that the onus is on you and I, and even members of the NPP, to put the government on its tools so that it can deliver the incremental benefits of this election to the people of Ghana.
All right. Philip, I would ask for your closing thoughts on this one, but let me just hit on this one. Again, the expectations, managing the expectations of the people. Now, as it appears, lots of promises were made. And this is a case where, like you rightly put, the people of Ghana have voted for a particular party. Some have said that is it not too early to start. Please, the person has not even been sworn in, but there are lots of demands or expectations based on the promises they made. There's the argument that we should give them some time, and then they can allow to deliver on the promise. And the argument is that if the NDC, for example, had extended mandate, obviously all the promises the NDC made would have been fulfilled, but time becomes a necessary part in fulfilling all these things.
You see, managing whose expectations? Who created the expectations in the first place?
Yes, it's the MPP.
MPP created the expectations to win power. So why are you asking that they should manage the expectations? You gave them expectations and they gave you power. In fact, is it the NDC or any other person for that matter that asked him when he went to Western region to reiterate the fact that he will come and create the region? Who is imposing the expectation on himself? Is he the NDC that told him when he went to Northern region to say that Alawa is coming? Or is it the NDC that told him that he should go again and mention that he will let us elect DCEs? Why is he not waiting till he is sworn in? And
but again, I'm pushing you because
I agree. No, I'm making the point that he himself
yes,
is comfortable with the debate, and he's actually setting the agenda by continuing the debate even before the man has started walking and talking like a president.
Exactly.
And you think
so
that we should treat him as a president? He is the one who is starting these discussions. We haven't sworn you in, and you are going around still talking about, and you are not campaigning anymore, and you are still going about reminding us. Then let us also remind you more. Okay, so when we keep reminding you, it is not expectations. You created those expectations. You have continued to re-emphasize those expectations even before you are sworn in. Why then? I mean, some of them he gave timelines.
Yes.
In 3 months, Alawa will come. In 3 months, Alawa will come. So why should we give him 1 year for something he said he will do in 3 months? Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So if you said one constituency, $1 million, in your next budget, we want to see one constituency, 1 million, because it must start from. If it is not that, it means that 1 year we have lost out, and we were expecting 1 million for 4 years. So if it is not in the first budget, we would have lost out 1 million in a year. So why should we wait and lose that 1 year and have 3 years? Were we promised 3 years?
I'll come back to you and then I'll ask for your expectation as a party in opposition. But let me round up with you. So the president-elect is on a tour, thanking people and reaffirming some of these things. Is it a clear indication that these are things he intends to do within his first 4 years in office?
You see, one thing that has become very, very clear since the president-elect was elected, he has not made any bones about his gratitude. His gratitude. Even those he knows who he goes to certain areas, so I know I didn't do very well here in terms of my support, but I'm still grateful. There were some chiefs who actually went out there and actually stated, as is not expected of them, that, oh, don't vote for this man, vote for. He went to thank them. He has demonstrated gratitude. That's number one. So that is one of the reasons why he's going round.
Okay.
Very essential, a point that is established. 2, he is making it clear that he hasn't forgotten what he has said and that he means business. You see, the difference, I want my brother to appreciate it. He is showing a certain commitment. That is what makes the difference. It's not a matter of just throwing promises out there. He could have said, okay, we'll keep quiet on any promises because maybe, no. He means business. It is work in progress. So, sleeves are being rolled up. He's assembling his team of men and women who are going to assist him to implement these promises that he's made. And it's not just a matter of throwing promises into the air. These are things, many of these things are things that the party and various organs of the party have worked on. So we know exactly where we are coming from. So we're in a position where, come 7th January, Nana Addo Dankwa becomes president of Ghana. He'll be ready with his team. Dr. Bawumia is his vice. We are ready to start working. You see what I'm saying? And this is the point he's just making clear to people. That look, we know what we are about. It's not that we are just saying things just to get power, like the same people have seen before. Well, they saw people give promises. They came to power just like they had forgotten the promises. Then getting to election time, they started remembering that, oh, in fact, don't worry, you give us another 4 years, we'll quickly do the promises, and then they start quickly. No. It's a different ballgame.
But then I guess there's a lot of pressure on the party then, because then clearly Ghanaians have shown that if you promise you don't deliver,
the party is not lost on that.
Okay.
Look, the Ghanaian electorate, we're not going to make the mistake that our brothers in the NDC did by taking them for granted. We are not going to make that mistake. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that is the signal that the president-elect is demonstrating. Okay. For the people to know that he is there for their sake. It is because of them he's there. They put him there. And he is promising that he is coming to work for them. So that is the position. So it is okay for our brothers to think that, oh, well, just like they did, they think that's what we are doing.
No, we didn't think
well.
Oh, no.
We'll see the difference. That is all. So we'll see the difference.
If by losing the election it means you took people for granted, did they take Ghanaians for granted in 2008?
When they lost the election. That's an extension of the argument.
No. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So closing thoughts with you. MP elect for Bolga Central, and you're going to be in opposition for the next 4 years. Yeah. What should Ghanaians expect of the opposition, the main opposition party?
Well, what Ghanaians should expect is a very responsible opposition. Ghanaians should expect an opposition that would be issue-based, an opposition, and I want to promise them that unlike what they did to our president with all the insults, we won't do that to Nanado. We would be making sure that Ghanaians get the full benefits of this election. We will be making sure that the government is on its toes in order to deliver the incremental benefits that we expect democracy to bring, in order to deliver some of the far-reaching promises that they made, which we believe, if it can be done, would improve a lot of Ghanaians. And we're in government to improve a lot of our people. And we want to make sure that the benefits that we expect from this election are realized. And that is the kind of opposition that Ghanaians should be expecting. We will make sure that Ghanaians know what is happening. We will make sure Ghanaians are fully educated on some of the issues that they need to be addressed with. But we will make sure that we engage the government in order to support it to deliver on its mandate. And that is the kind of opposition that we bring to the fore. An opposition focused on Ghana first and making sure that Ghana works and making sure that the government delivers.
Okay, all right. So in running up, today is an extended edition, so we'll do some 10 more minutes. Let's look at this interesting issue, or very worrying, I should say. Clash over land leaves 2 dead. Now, clashes between some residents of Micho and Dawenya in the Greater Accra region yesterday left 2 persons dead. 6 other persons are reported to have sustained gunshot wounds during the clashes, allegedly caused by a misunderstanding between the residents over a piece of land which both sides are claiming ownership of. This is not something new. It's been in the system over a period of time now. For years. Is there an end to this in sight?
There must be an end to it. There's so much insecurity when you want to develop a property.
True.
And just because you want to have a roof over your head, you must become a gangster in order to build a house. And that is just not what Ghana should be. I think that land title is very clear. And so when these issues come up, sometimes the challenge is that there are vested interests.
Okay.
And sometimes they border on pure criminality. And so we need to separate criminal conduct from legitimate debate or legitimate misunderstanding over land issues. Where ownership is in dispute, that is understood. But where there's pure criminality, we have to deal with it as such. And until we deal with that impunity, and this impunity is gradually creeping into our social fabric. Now, if you want to forcefully take away something from somebody, you get a few macho men around you, to intimidate people and take things away from them. And unfortunately, when authority acts, we put political coloring to it. And because we politicize everything, criminals get away with pure criminality. And you'll be surprised you get in there before you realize you are mentioning some names just to try and create the impression that there's more politics than land dispute. And we need to begin to take politics away from several of our social fabric in order that we can have a clearer view of some of these things and deal with them appropriately. Okay. But if we continue to color everything with politics, we won't get far with dealing with some of these. And the next time, you never know who it is. The next time it's you struggle, you have some money, you think that you want to have a small place, and the next moment people are threatening you, texting you, blackmailing you. And what is your crime? Your crime is that you bought a piece of land that you want to develop. I don't think that should be possible. Okay. We should be able to deal with that. Okay.
Philip, and for me, what's worrying is the fact that at the site of the crime, the police retrieved 2 pump-action guns, a pistol, and 1 AK-47 assault rifle. Is it about time that we had a look at our gun control issue here in Ghana?
Well, yes, but with your kind permission, I just want to make a small comment on the previous, about the NDC position. Okay. Yes, I appreciate the comments of my brother about how he expects to see the role the NDC is going to play
as opposition.
Main opposition, responsible. It's good. It's good for Ghana. Keep the ruling government on their toes and everything. It's good. He made reference to insults, etc. Look, I appreciate that. I respect that. But I just hope the kind of insults that even we saw ministers of state give to our then flag bearer. I mean, as a country, we should move away from that. I know it won't happen under an NPP government.
The attack on personalities. Issue-based conversations.
No. I mean, why? A whole press conference in such things. I hope that as we are moving forward, these things, we just put them behind us. So I welcome, I look forward to a very responsible opposition from the NDC. I want to commend the PPP for what they've come up with. I'll be anxious to hear what Mr. Ivor Komla Greenstreet and the CPP would also come up with, all in the national interest. So I think that is good. Now, but on the issue of this land clash, in the run-up to the elections, there were various programs that were made to retrieve small arms. Small arms, yes. Small arms all over the country, and there were various degrees of success. But this points out to you that there's still some in the system. And there are some people who have made it, like my brother was saying, criminality. They've made it a business. And I'll tell you that a very sad experience I had not too long ago, where one young guy, a family member is trying to put the young guy into school. His whole ambition is to become a land guard. No, seriously.
That's
because
interesting.
Yes. Because when he's land guard, he has a macho status in town. The young girls are looking at him. So he makes some money from time to time. And he sees, something that won't get you anywhere. We must tackle these things at the roots.
Okay.
Because, you see, if you retrieve these guns, like they did, when they don't have any trouble to cause, and the gun is sitting there idle, and there's a program where the guns are being exchanged for some money, you send the gun there and collect money. Until such time that somebody wants him to cause some confusion, he says, my friend, I need a gun, give me this money, you go and buy the gun, and it's business as usual. So we must nip this thing from the core, from the root, you see. Otherwise, it goes on and on. We have a land administration project going on. That is it's advanced. We are getting there. It's been ongoing for a number of years now. We are getting to a point where there must be not just the implementation. We should bring in the landowners, the traditional people, because many of them are the source of the problem. Not the chief himself, but the young men around the chief who are the agents for the land sales, and many of them are the trouble causers. You see, so we must try and get to the bottom of these matters. That's the only way we can. And you see, if we don't deal with this newspaper headline, we want to set up factories all over the country, districts and all that, with public-private partnerships. People are going to come in wanting to invest. Now, if land acquisition is going to create problems like this type of thing, what are the issues? So we have to deal with these things from the bottom, from the core. You see, and make sure these things don't happen, because it's just a recurring problem. We must put an end to it.
Okay. All right. So on that note, let me say a big thank you to you, Philip Langdon, who's with the MPP communication, or with the MPP team, I should say, and Isaac Adongo is the NDC MP elect for Bolga Central. Thank you so much for your time. Is any few words you want to share with your constituents and what they should expect of you when you go into Parliament?
Yes, I think first I want to thank them very much for the confidence that they've reposed in me. I know that the NDC has a very strong track record in my constituency, and I intend to follow suit. I have a very strong belief that I'll still be able to deliver on most of the things that I promised them, particularly engaging the youth and empowering the youth, which is my passion. Livelihood empowerment of our women. Going around and doing a campaign, I had a strong belief that supporting them would bring a much more stronger backbone to the family. And so that is one thing that I'll be focusing on. I'll be looking at how I can leverage to provide some water. In most of the places, boreholes and drinking water is a major challenge. But I want to emphasize the fact that I would like to still work with them and get their support, just as they supported me through the primaries, to continuously support me to deliver, so that in the end we can work together and improve the lives of the people.
So your promise to them you will keep?
Yes.
No two ways about it.
I'll
All right, let me just give you some few minutes if you want to say some few words too.
Well, I'll just say that we are hopeful. We are already working as a party, waiting to come into government. And like the president-elect is saying, Ghanaians should be, I mean, you can feel the air of expectation around the country, the enthusiasm, the feeling of you know, that is blowing around the country. And the New Patriotic Party will not let the people down. We didn't come to just make promises. We are coming to work, and they will see us working.
Okay, all right. So thank you again.
As we have demonstrated before.
All right. Thank you again, Philip, and thank you, Isaac.